Hey folks, Jim here again. Okay, so here we go, my top 10 favorite films of 2011. Keep in mind, lists are rarely set in stone and they consistently change over time. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol is my number 10. More than the refreshing Rise of the Planet of the Apes and the enjoyable Captain America, The First Avenger, this fourth installment of the MI series impressed me like no other blockbuster this year. I'll admit I didn't care much regarding Ethan Hunt's relationship with his wife and a certain plot development that involves Jeremy Renner's character, but nothing can take away from the execution of the action sequences and the brisk pace of the first hour in particular. Some will find the Russian threat outdated, but to me, it's just a good old-fashioned spy thriller where the impossible is made possible. The Dubai sequence is filmmaking at its finest. Number 9, Hanna, Joe Wright's art house modern fairy tale, which feels like a cross between something like the Bourne series and Run, Lower Run, was quite a surprise after his last film, the underwhelming movie called The Soloist. Part Red Riding Hood, part Frankenstein, and probably a couple of other tales too, Hanna is less concerned about annoying Secret Service exposition and is more interested in telling how a girl, secluded and trained all her life in the mountains, would adapt to her environment in the real world. With a pulsating score by the Chemical Brothers keeping the pace up, Hanna has no shortage in style with breathtaking action sequences and assured editing, cinematic framing, and beautiful tracking shots to boot. If only more action films were this completely well made. Bellflower tells the story of two young men building flamethrowers and souped-up cars for the day when the apocalypse occurs. Add a potential love interest into the mix of these Mad Max fans, and things get ugly quick. Some will hate it, some will love it, but Evan Glodell's independent film, shot gorgeously on a camera he made himself on a $17,000 budget, is a sweet, angry, bitter, and beautiful film about youthful heartbreak, friendship, and loyalty in a generation of aimlessness and lack of purpose. This isn't the last we've heard of Evan Glodell, I assure you. Number 7 is Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. Starring Elizabeth Olsen as a young woman free of the cult she was in, led by a charismatic leader, Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene is an impressive directorial debut by Sean Durkin, way beyond his years, and the film truly got under my skin. Martha, now with her sister and brother-in-law, struggles to adjust to a normal lifestyle and grasp what is reality and what is delusion, with her identity at stake. More than any other film this year, each scene complements the scene prior, creating a sense of paranoia. Number 6 is Young Adult, Jason Reitman's latest dark comedy about a failed writer, Mavis Gray, who returns to her hometown from the big city after her divorce to find her old high school sweetheart and to take him away from a life of marriage and fatherhood. Consistently changing the perception moviegoers and critics have of him, Reitman provides his most down-to-earth film yet, with humor in the most uncomfortable and dark moments. This is not Juno. Though Mavis won't go down as the most likable character this past year, she is never less than entertaining and damaged. Young Adult is a really good studio film that has gone a bit under the radar. Check it out. Number 5 is Hugo 3D. Don't let those initial trailers fool you. Hugo is anything but generic. It's Martin Scorsese's love letter to cinema and the power of films to move, entertain, and transport you while still telling a story of a boy trying to find a home and his place in the world. Scorsese's previous team is all here, such as art director Dante Ferretti, cinematographer Robert Richardson, and editor Thelma Shoemaker, making it one of the most cinematic experiences, and considering the film's subject, the 3D medium made a lot of sense. Even more so than Jason Reitman, Scorsese isn't interested in getting pigeonholed as one kind of filmmaker, consistently taking chances in his older age. Number 4 is Rampart. After the impressive debut of The Messenger, Owen Moverman's sophomore effort Rampart is an improvement in every way from pace to visual LA style. Some will find a lot of the plot strands and visual touches to detract from the film, but for me, these aspects are used to build a character study than a straightforward narrative, as we are like a fly on the wall listening and observing the conversations. Written by Moverman and crime writer James Ellroy, this film, which uses the 1999 Rampart scandal as a backdrop providing atmosphere, features my favorite performance of the year with Woody Harrelson as Dave Date Rape Brown, an intellectual corrupt cop who goes through a downward spiral of self-gratification and paranoia. Similar to some of the best films of the year, Rampart follows a character that has to adapt within the environment changing around him, but just can't do it. Number 3, 50-50. No film this year or in recent memory has done such a beautiful job balancing comedy and drama, perfectly reflecting the human experience. Starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the cancer patient Adam, the film challenges him to go through a series of relatable emotions, and he nails each one of them. I only wish more moviegoers spent their $9.50 to see this, because they would have been rewarded with a fairly uplifting film about the importance of family, friends, and relationships in tough times. Number 2, Moneyball. For a film that looks at baseball players as strictly numbers, the film surprisingly lacks cynicism and is instead deeply moving, telling a story about a man who doesn't change much unlike the typical Hollywood convention, but instead tries to change the system of baseball. Moneyball is an odd studio film approached by director Bennett Miller in an independent film fashion, according to Miller himself. It's a low-key, slow burn of a film. There is no big hoorah moment, no big movie speech before the big game, no manipulation, no heavy score. There's no easy characterizations like making Peter Brand, played by the understated Jonah Hill, the biggest geek in the world that he's a cartoon. There's none of that. There may be some inaccuracies regarding the Art Howe depiction, and the movie will prove to be divisive among baseball fans as there's very little actual baseball within the film, but it's a crowd pleaser if you let it be, as it finds value in players completely undervalued and in turn makes anyone romantic about baseball. It probably won't win people who hate Billy Beane over, but it had the power to win me over. And my number 1 favorite film of 2011 is Drive. Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive is one of the most polarizing films of the year. Some despise it, some sing high praises to it, and I fall into that latter camp. As good as an actor as he is a screen presence, Ryan Gosling is superb as the driver, a 21st century man with no name archetype who wrestles with the man he is and the man he wants to be. In a romantic dream turned violent nightmare, he so desperately wants a life that he can't have if he wants to protect the people that matter so much to him. It's a no-win situation where actions have consequences that are not always uplifting. More of a neo-noir than a Fast and the Furious film, the film boasts an ambiguous anti-hero, a kind love interest, and shady criminals within the city of Los Angeles, providing atmosphere. Refn also brings his technical craftsmanship to an independent film more visually appealing than most blockbusters. The cinematography, editing, score, soundtrack, and the impeccable sound design of shotgun blasts, dead silence, and gloves gripping around a steering wheel or a hammer made this the most arresting cinematic movie experience of the year for me. It's the only movie I saw this year where I wanted the projector to roll the film immediately after I saw it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the film is so damn cool. So there you have it, folks. Those are my top 10 favorite films of 2011. What are your favorite films of 2011? And that's it for the Movie Rewind. Have a great day, folks. Until next time.